Hello, Wargamers, and welcome. This is Gigantic Games once again, and today we're going to talk about the only faction not seen at the World Championships of Warhammer this year, the Imperial Agents. So, this is a general unit overview. Like my other one for 1,000 Suns, I'm going to discuss what role they fill, their general abilities, what is competing for its place in the list, whether it is over or undercosted, and rather I think they make a good ally for different armies for what they do. Now, in general, most of these units are not worth the points cost that they are going to take from you in order to be an ally. So, with that said, let's get on with it. Characters. So, we have a lot of very fun and interesting characters today. Imperial Agents, I think, have some of the most flavorful and great models in general, especially for their characters. We're going to start with the Calidus Assassin. So its role is utility and assassin. It is much better at utility than it is assassin. It has lone op, infiltrate, deep strike, fights first, and shadow assignment. So if you are playing the Imperial Agents faction, the shadow assignment means you can swap this out at the beginning of the battle for any assassin that costs equal or same points cost as it. Very useful in very many cases. It basically means if you're running an Imperial Agents list, unless you're doing the Veiled Blade, you're going to run two assassins, probably the Calidus and either the Eversor or the Vindicare. It has an anti-infantry 2-up precision flamer with AP 2 1 damage, so not a whole lot of damage there. Lethal hits in melee, but at AP 4 2 damage and precision can cause a lot of damage. But its big things are its abilities. It has a Vect Aura, so any unit within 12 inches of it, if targeted by a stratagem, costs 1 extra command point. And at the end of the fights phase, it can fall back d6 inches, and if it's greater than 3 inches away from any enemy units, can be picked up and put back into strategic reserves, and on your following turn or later, it can be placed back down 9 inches away from all enemy units. This is at 100 points, fairly fair costed, and probably the most common ally you will see. Calidus Assassin gives a lot of things that other armies don't have as a single model action junket that can go up and down, and if played very well, the Vect Aura can be used to keep the Calidus safe and make it so that defensive stratagems such as Armor of Contempt or possibly a Fights First stratagem or an AP +1 stratagem can't be used against you because you're managing your opponent's command point economy. Our next character, another assassin, the Caluxus Assassin, is again assassin in utility, has deep strike, lone op, grenade, shadow assignment, and stealth. His ability is once per game, in the beginning of your opponent's command phase, all enemy models within 9 inches of him have to take a battle shock at -1, or if they're a psyker, -2. So this can be used in combination with his next ability of a 6-inch deep strike to steal objectives from your opponent, causing them to fail a battle shock, and then you have OC on their point in their command phase so they don't score primary. Both its shooting and its melee are anti-psyker 2-up. Both are precision, but its melee has devastating wounds. Its shooting does not. However, its shooting does have the Psychic Assassin keyword, which means instead of being 3 shots, it goes up to 6 shots. And he has a Feel No Pain of a 2+ against all psychic attacks. This includes things like Doom Bolt, which cause mortal wounds from a psychic ability, which according to the game documents, is a psychic attack. He is the cheapest assassin and I believe is very fair costed for what he gives you. He does not provide all the same utility as the Calidus. However, if you're playing against a lot of Grey Knights, 1,000 Suns, or Tzeentchian demons, you may want to think about slotting him in. Our next assassin is the Vindicare Assassin. He is our ranged assassin. He has lone op, stealth, infiltrate, smoke, shadow assignment. Smoke is pretty much useless on him as a keyword in general because he already has stealth and you're probably going to keep him in ruins most of the time, or lone op is going to cover you defensively. His sniper has a D3 plus 3 damage, and he has a once per game +1 wound, and all wounds are critical with his sniper rifle. So his sniper being at strength 8, devastating wounds, with a +1 to wound, makes it so he will probably just kill any one infantry character he points at, or do D3+3 damage to almost any vehicle he points his gun at. He does ignore lone op, so that lone op, combat lieutenant, sitting on an objective, you can just walk him in from the side, which honestly I will say you don't want to infiltrate the Vindicator Assassin, you want to keep him in reserves, walk him in from a board edge so you can get that angle to just shoot and kill a character. However, I believe he is overcosted, and I think he's overcosted because he does ignore the lone op. He generally is not giving you much more than what you can already do. Yes, you have a long range character sniper, but you could just move up the board and engage those characters as well. So, our next and last assassin is the Eversor Assassin. He is one of my favorites. Sadly, he is not that strong right now. He is an anti-horde assassin. He has Low Knot, Scout 9, Deadly Demise D3, Shatter Assignment, and Grenades. He is the fastest moving assassin. He has Advance, Shoot, and Charge. However, that does not work with his once per game, which I'll get to in a minute. His shooting and his melee are both anti-infantry 3 up, and they both have sustained hits 3 and precision. So he goes into a squad, he is more than likely going to just delete that squad. And especially if you use his once per game. His once per game adds 6 inches to his movement and adds 3 attacks to his melee. Goes to melee attacks of 9 attacks. He is fair costed and on the expensive side for the 4 assassins. Overall, fairly good. However, he doesn't give enough as an ally compared to the Calidus and Caluxus. And in Imperial Agents, he does his job fairly well. We just don't have many options. Our next character is the Inquisitor. He is a base leader that can apply to any of our units. When you target his unit with a stratagem on a 3+, you refund 1 command point. If you take his psychic enhancements, which I suggest you do, he gets the 6-up invuln to his unit and himself, and he gets a Devastating Wounds Psychic Flamer. Yes, it's strength 3, but it's 2d6 shots. And his other ability allows him to join any transport his units will lead. I believe he is fair costed, he is one of our cheaper characters, and he does provide some use to other armies. However, the Psychic Flamer just isn't enough. He's not providing enough benefit to be really taken as an ally compared to named Inquisitors or Assassins. Our first named Inquisitor, of course, is going to be Inquisitor Greyfax. This is the cheapest of our named Inquisitors, and I put her as a role of a leader and assassin because she has precision and she has anti-psyker. She gives anti-psyker 4+ to ranged weapons of herself and all units she is. She gives +1 to hit for units less than half, when shooting against targets less than half strength to her unit. And her shooting is Devastating Wounds. One attack is anti-character 4-up, the other is anti-psyker 2-up, and both devastating, so she could cause a lot of damage to any psychic characters. A good tech piece if Thousand Suns are running rampant in your local meta. As a Thousand Suns player, that's slightly scary to me, but again, does not provide much other than a small damage boost to that unit. Now going to the other named Inquisitors, Inquisitor Draxus, much more commonly seen, is a leader, provides utility. She grants her unit rerolls of 1 to hit against Xenos targets, can be useful in some matchups, but 2/3 of the faction, 2 out of 3 factions are not Xenos. On a 2-up in your command phase, she gives the unit she's leading 18-inch lone op. Very good. She has a high number of shots with one of her guns that provides sustained hits to AP 0 2 damage, so a good marine killer, but it doesn't have AP. And our other one is Devastating Wounds anti-infantry shooting. So those 2 weapons are both fairly good. She is fair costed, and combined with things that allow reroll hit rolls or reroll wound rolls, her shooting really shines, and that 18-inch lone op means she is protecting her unit fairly well. She is definitely something to be considered taken as an ally, and Imperial Agents is a good option to put onto one of your backfield or even one of your front field Imperial Navy breachers. Our next and last Inquisitor is, of course, Inquisitor Kotias. A lot of people don't like his new model. I think it looks fine. He is the Terminator armor Inquisitor, basically. He is a leader, he provides utility. He gives his unit a 6-up invuln against everything and a 4-up invuln against psychic and demons. Whenever your opponent gains a command point from an ability on a 2-up, you gain a command point. So your opponent can't just start leading ahead with command points over you. You will maintain the command point economy. In your command phase, you can pick a unit within 18 inches of him, and that unit can no longer benefit from cover. He also has anti-demon, anti-infantry, devastating shooting. His anti-demon is 2-up, his anti-infantry is 3-up. Fairly good, but anti-infantry and 5-up isn't a whole lot to be proud of. It's a strong melee attack at 3 attack, strength 9, AP 2, 3 damage. I believe he is overcosted for everything he's given us. You're really paying for his own personal 2-up armor, 4-up invuln. So our next character we have is probably the best one-of character you'll want in your list. The Rogue Trader Entourage. Infiltrator, as well as the Infiltrator, and it's a utility piece. It gives the unit it's leading Infiltrate. So if you have one of these, that unit will have Infiltrate. If you have 3, one of those 3 will have Infiltrate. It can redeploy D3 Imperial Battle Line units. So this is useful in all Imperial armies, but generally you can use it in Imperial Agents to attach the Rogue Traders to an Imperial Navy breaches, make a 14-man strong unit, deploy that as your first infiltrate if you're on Defender, screen out almost the entire no man's land, and then redeploy that unit so that your Rogue Trader Imperial Navy breacher squad is not just going to immediately die. War gear abilities to restore D3 models in the command phase, and each model has a different shooting and melee, and are overall fairly good at one or the other. Fair costed, overcosted for an ally by far, but for Imperial Agents, definitely fair costed, and just provides a nice utility piece as a 1-of-1. I wouldn't go around taking 3 of them, but definitely 1. Navigator. Navigator can lead Void's Men-at-Arms and Imperial Navy breaches, but his main role is to be a screen. It's our one-model infiltrators. Enemies cannot be set up within 12 inches of the Navigator, and in shooting phase, if there's an enemy unit within 12 inches, can force them to take a battle shock. If they fail at -2 if infantry, they take 3 mortal wounds. Its melee weapon is a force weapon, which is just generally good. Strength 6, AP 1, D3 damage. Its shooting is a las pistol. Navigator is fair costed. I don't see people taking him as an ally. Most other armies that would take him as an ally can just get a better screen for about equivalent points. One model screening 12 inches isn't as good as Space Marine Infiltrators or a 65-point Guardsman squad. Sad to say, but for Imperial Agents, it'll definitely allow you to take this, maybe attach it to some Void's Men-at-Arms for a little bit of ablative wounds, and you can screen out a good portion of your backfield. Our next is the Minister and Priest. Roles are leader, damage, and one of our cheapest characters. I think our actual cheapest characters. Whatever squad he's leading gets sustained hits 1. He has a once per battle. In the fight phase, you gain 3 attacks and 3 strength with the Vindicator, which makes it a strength 8, AP 2, 6 attacks. Not bad. Not great. It is a strong weapon in melee. In range, it is a strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage flamer. He is very undercosted, but doesn't really give us a role that we need. The squads he can attach to don't really need him, and don't really provide us enough benefit. If you're going to take him as an ally, I have contemplated taking him as a one-of in the Imperial Guard, just kind of as a character that I can keeping strategic reserves, deploying the backfield, and maybe pop off flamer shots at something, or charge something and just hope the Strength 8 AP 1 2 damage Vindicator can kill a few Marines before he dies. But he is extremely cheap. Our next character is Rash Captain Artemis. Very flavorful character, not very strong right now. He is a damage leader we have. He has a 6-up feel no pain, and he gives his unit lethal hits and shooting in melee. And first time he dies, he revives on a 2+. His pistol is a Torrent Flamer at anti-infantry 2-up, devastating wounds. He can lead Aquila kill teams or Deathwatch veterans. He is better with a ranged spec kill team because his lethal hits is effective in both phases then. He is fair costed, he is fairly cheap, only at about 65 points at time of recording. Our next character, and I believe our last, is going to be the Watchmaster. He is utility damage, provides amazing abilities of fallback, advance, shoot, and charge. So he can lead Aquila team or Deathwatch veterans, and they will just be able to move around the board, shoot and charge whatever they need to, with him leading. He has a once per battle round, once per model of a reduced CP cost by 1. So if you have 3 of them, only 1 squad will get the reduced CP cost per battle round. However, whichever squad needs to hit something harder can. His melee is strength 6, AP 2, D3 damage with lance and 6 attacks, fairly strong, and a 2-up, 4-up saves. I believe he is fair costed right now, he at 95 points. However, I don't see many people taking him as an ally because Deathwatch veterans and the Watchmaster are just really expensive right now. And if you're in a Space Marine army already, you have other options that can fill his similar role. So that was it for our characters. Now we're going to go on to the bread and butter, our battle line. AKA, we have a whole lot of chaff to talk about and a little bit of not chaff. So our first one is our newest battle line, the Aquila kill team. They are damage, and I consider them more range damage than melee damage. This rework of the Deathwatch veterans just doesn't give us all the same. Yes, a few guys have a higher toughness, doesn't really matter. They still reroll hit rolls of 1 or all hit rolls against any Xenos target. Different models, different toughness. There's rules specific on how to do that. Honestly, I'm going to tell you to just run Deathwatch veterans for as long as possible. These guys just aren't as strong. They're a mixed damage unit with a low amount of melee damage, and you're very restricted in what firing, gun options, and melee options you can take, and are generally overcosted for their use. Just take the Deathwatch veterans instead. They're about the same price point right now, and just better. So, our next unit, speaking of which, is the Deathwatch kill team, or the Deathwatch veterans. I change my camera real quick. There you go. So, roll, damage, mostly melee. The most common reason why I say that is most commonly you're going to take 4 power weapons with shields and 4 thunder hammers, some Xenophase blades, and the twin black shield blades. Just completely going shooting. But you can give them a lot of shooting options as well. So they, again, have the reroll hit rolls of 1, or if they're against Xenos, they can reroll all hit rolls. They have a large selection of weapons, and you can really kit them out to be whatever role you need them to be. As said before, the common loadout is you're going to have 4 shields, giving 4 models, 4 infalls, 4 thunder hammers, a black shield blaze, a Xenophase blade with combi weapon. They're extremely fair costed right now, and if you're running them Imperial Agents, splurge, take them in a unit of 10, not 5. At 5, they just don't have enough punch for this army, and if you're going to ally them in, I would still reconsider it because they are still fairly expensive. They're just the only Imperial Agents unit we have that provides a punch. So our next unit on this is going to be Imperial Navy Breachers. So these guys are our screen and chef. So they reroll wounds of 1 unless an enemy is on an objective, in which case you get full wound rerolls. They have a once per battle 18-inch grenade strat, a once per battle ignore cover, one model has a 4-up invul. You also have one model with a once per game demolition charge of strength 9, AP 2 damage. You also have either a plasma gun or a melta gun on one unit. You have 2 power weapons and a chain fist. And their power weapon for the man in the squad, not the sergeant, is the power axe, which can be seen here, which I honestly think is the best power weapon, just purely aesthetically. They are fair costed and they have the Voidfarer's keyboard, which is very important for Imperial Agents' strongest detachment at the time, which is Imperialis Fleet. Again, this is kind of a joke army that wasn't seen at Worlds for a reason. But you can win games with this. You can do well. But our next one is the Vigilant Squad. These are generic Robocops in space. They provide some damage, not a whole lot, screening, and shaft. So almost the same role as the Breachers, just not as well. So they add 1 to the mood roll if the target's below half strength. It's hard to get them below half strength normally. And once per battle, they can force a battle shock on one objective for all enemy units that aren't monsters and vehicles. So possibly flipping an objective. There's no APs, there's no minus to the battle shock test, so you're probably just going to have to let them keep it. They are all ranged and all AP 0. Just you can take a strength 2 AP 0 dev wound Weber at D6 shots. Just generally not worth it. They're fair costed for what they do. You're just throwing bodies up the table. So that was it for our battle line, and now we're going to go to dedicated transports and look at this thing. If only we could put this on the tabletop, but no, this is what is carrying our forces from planet to planet. Our first one is the Imperial Rhino. It is a transport. Deadly minus D3, firing deck 2, regenerates 1 boon per battle round, can transport 12 models, which means Inquisitorial Agents, a full 12-man brig with an Inquisitor cannot be attached. It has 1 Stone Bolter and 100 Kill Missile. And it can transport anything and are indexed. It is fair costed right now, and you're probably going to be taking 1 to 3 of these just because they are the most basic utility transport we have. If you're taking Imperial Agents as an ally, and you're thinking of grabbing a transport, it's not worth it for the Imperial Rhino. You're taking agents for the wrong reason then. Look into your own data sheets. There's probably something that'll do the job just as well, if not better. So our next one is the Inquisitorial Chimera. Its role is transport, has Deadly Demise D3, firing deck 2. Its units inside of it can disembark after the Chimera advances and shoot as normal. It could transport 13, but only Inquisitorial Agents and Inquisitors. It is our most damaging and best shooting transport we have available. Has the highest number of shots. A lot of them can be at strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage. A lot of them could be flamers. But it can only take those 2 data sheets, the Inquisitorial Agents and one of the 4 Inquisitors. Sadly, just not worth it at this point. Inquisitorial Agents and Inquisitors don't do enough unless their Inquisitors are attached to different units. Our next dedicated transport is the Sisters of Battle Immolator. It is a transport and utility. Has Deadly Demise D3. It can transport 6. It will split a Battle Sister squad into 2 squads, one of which has to be in it. After it shoots something with either its Meltas or Flamers, which, let's be honest, you're probably getting Meltas on this thing because we don't have anti-tank in the rest of this army. And get ship cover from that unit. As an ally, that's very useful because that means your other units can still get the bonus of being enemy cannot have the benefit of cover. However, for Imperial Agents themselves, it's a little expensive. Imperial Knights, if you want to take a Battle Sister squad and an Immolator just to increase your number of models at a low cost because you're already super expensive, maybe consider it, especially considering when we get to Sisters of Battle, I'll talk about their benefits for you then. It has a low number of guns, It has the highest toughness, it has some of the best saves, and honestly, it has melta guns. We need melta. I believe it is fair costed for what it does. Now we're going to go on to the last unit, our other data sheets. This is going to be a quick video probably because a lot of these are going to be the same thing in different flavors again and again and again. And I'll save my other comments about Imperial Agents as a faction until the end. Exaction Squad. Their role is chaff and maybe an assassin, not really. So their ability is at the beginning of the battle, they can for each squad, you can choose one unit for that squad, and they get lethal hits precision against that unit. They don't really have the weapons to make that useful. They have War Gear ability to revive D3 models in your command phase. Useful, but you're probably just going to get the whole squad picked up at once because they just don't have the toughness. They have a War Gear ability to ignore cover, and one model has a 4-up invuln, and again they can force the battle shock on an objective for all enemy models except monstrous vehicles. They have more War Gear options and special weapons than Vindication Squad, which makes them fair costed because there are just a few points more. But none of those weapons are really good enough to really put them on a very useful. Now, you want to go play Robocop the army against your opponent, you can have a blast doing that. But against any real army, Robocop is just gonna fall over. Our next unit is the Subductor Squad. Complete opposite take on this. Their role is to tank things and screen. Their ability, pretty useless, but it's there. They fight on death on a 4-up. They still have the once per battle force a battle shock on an objective. All their melee attacks are strength 4, AP 1, damage 1, and they have 2 attacks model. But the big thing is, they have a 3-up armor and a 4-up invuln. So you can take 10 models with a 3-up, 4-up, and of course, the Cyber Mastiff with a 3-up. This is a fair costed unit and seen a lot in all Imperial Agents because it's the only way to spam 4-up invulns, and we've all played against that Custodes player where they live or die by the 4-up. We just have a lot more volume of 4-ups that we're going to have to pass compared to them. But if you pass them all, this squad's invincible. Next, we have Grey Knight Terminator Squad. Not seen as much because they are very expensive, and in general, if you're playing an Imperial Agents army, you're trying to be cheap and board control. But their goal is to be a tank, and they have Deep Strike. They are our only unit with natural Deep Strike. They gain lethal hits on the charge. They can take War Gear options to give one model plus 1 OC for the squad, and one model, return one model to the squad every command phase. They have good melee with their force weapons. Inquisitors gain Deep Strike when leading them. They are generally fair costed, but at almost 300 points, not taken often, and even being more expensive as an ally, don't provide enough to most armies to be worth taking. Our next one is the Sisters of Battle Squad. They are a scoring piece. They have sticky objectives, our only option to sticky our home objective and other objectives. They can, once per battle round, use the command reroll stratagem for 0 CP. Very useful, but that means we can't use that stratagem elsewhere. They have a War Gear option that improves their leadership by 1. They can be split by an immolator, so you pay for 1 squad and an immolator, you get 2. They can have 2 melta guns and an Inferno pistol in the squad, so a decent amount of high strength special weapons. Generally fair costed. For Imperial Agents themselves, not seen as much. However, a lot of Imperial Knights might look to take a Sisters of Battle Squad and immolator, or just a Sisters of Battle Squad as a backline screening unit that's cheap and can stick to their home so that they can continue playing the game with only their 6 other models or 5 other models. So potentially a good ally, but most other armies have things that do what they do already. Sanctifiers. They are Scout and Chaff. So they're low toughness, high save at a 5-up or 6-up for many of them. While they contain an Minister and Priest, they get +1 to wound and melee. Sounds good, but then you realize all their melee is strength 3, so not really that good. They again get the once per battle command reroll for 0 CP. Okay. They revive D3 models every command phase, and they can have a war gear to improve their leadership by 1. Okay, useful, not game changing. However, they scout 6. They're the Imperial Agents' only scouting unit, and they have 6 different flamers and 2 plasma guns in every unit. Yes, one or two of those flamers are one-shots, but they have devastating wounds. They are fair costed for what they do, and they allow Imperial Agents to start maintaining board presence turn 1, so that you can try to board control your opponent out of scoring, so that you can win through score. Because we're definitely not winning the game with Imperial Agents by killing our opponent. We just have to outscore them and hope they table us slowly. Our next unit is the Voidsmen at Arms. They are screening, they are chaff, they are our lowest cost unit. They gain lethal hits against the closest target. They have no AP in their shooting. And they have a doggo. Everyone loves the doggo. You're taking them to attach to a navigator or to attach to something else just so the character has a blade of whips. There's nothing really strong about them, but then again, they're only 50 points and they take up space. Maybe in some detachments you'll take attachments and you'll just give them deep strike so they can deep strike score. They're fair costing. Inquisitorial Agents. I love these models. They're not as good as I wanted them to be for a long time. They are screening, they are chaff. If they're being led by the Inquisitor, they are -1 to wound, but they are toughness 3, so almost everything is still going to be wounding you on 3s. They have a large number of melee attacks, with each one having 2 to 3 melee attacks each. But they're all strength 3, AP 0-1 damage, with the exception of the 2 Mystic Staves, or 1 Mystic Stave, and 1 Devastator, or 2 Devastators. At strength 6, AP 1 or AP 2, 2 damage, D3 damage, and one of them is devastating. They're fair costed, cheap, and you get a melta gun with each one. Their other ability is the Tome Skulls, which allow you to force a battle shock on an enemy unit within 6 inches, or if an ally unit within 6 inches is battle shocked, you can use that to unbattle shock them. Useful utility unit, cheap, not worth the points most of the time, sadly. Our next, and I believe our final unit in this, is the Corvus Blackstar. It's our only way to get las guns, it is our las cannons, it is our anti-tank, and it can transport Death Watch veterans and Aquila Kill Team. It has a deadly demise D6, hover, stealth, and aircraft. When it moves over a unit with its 20-inch movement, you roll 6d6 on every 5-up. It's a mortal wound, so 5-up grenades when it moves over a unit can cause some mortal wounds on things. Does not happen often just because how movement works, and if you move it over the enemy lines, it's going to be open. It can have either ignores cover or smoke. It already has stealth, so I generally give it the ignores cover, so that when I'm shooting the las cannons or the storm strike missiles at strength 10, AP 2, D3 damage, that my AP is going to go through, and I might be able to pop a tougher vehicle. Speaking of which, it can have a high volume of shooting, or it could be our source of anti-tank. Even though it's our source of anti-tank, you still get the Hurricane Bolter at 6 shots, rapid fire 6, strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage. It is overcosted for what it does, but that's aircraft and 10th edition. Maybe one day the Corvus Blackstar will be good. I love the model. I think they're really cool. I just wish that they did more. So that was it. Our conclusions. The data sheets for Imperial Agents have some tricks, and are especially combined with our detachments. We have some tricks, but none of them are very tough, and none of them are very damaging. We're severely lacking in anti-tank and anti-elite damage. We can clear up guardsmen, but everything can clear up guardsmen. If you want to do well with agents, you're going to be using tricks, not gotcha moments, but tricks, based on data sheets and board control methods and very skillful play. Most armies have a skill ceiling, we have a skill floor, and we're just trying to climb up to it. If you try, a lot of people that play Imperial Agents will take Knight allies. They are almost necessary. After the Codex, I'm not sure which Knight to take, but a lot of Knight lists will take Imperial Agents allies that are uncommon in others. Our most common ally taken is, of course, the Calidus Assassin, because they're just useful into everything. All our units in the Imperial Agents army itself are very cheap, so you can almost horde spam the board, but you're lying to yourself if you think your opponent can't pick up 100 models in 3 turns. You have to play well. You just can't throw bodies at your opponent. Also, generally, I love some of these models. I think Imperial Agents has some of the coolest model range just because of how varied they are. But I also understand that's just because it's all the kill teams that Games Workshop wanted to make that didn't really fit with any other faction. Well, I hope this is an informative video for y'all. If you have any questions about Imperial Agents, whether you should try to add them to a list or not, feel free to ask in the comments. And I'll see y'all hopefully next week, if long as things go well, with another video. And I think that one might be on the Imperial Guard or another 1,000 Stuns video. Have a great day, Wargamers.